Alright, so today's going to be an interesting hike. This was a second plan of my day, but I decided to go to the Inman Trail, or the Inman Trail, instead of Moonlight Mountain because I couldn't get through the private property. So this trail is the Forest Service 240 trail, and it's for hiking and motorcycles is the biggest motorized use you can have on it. And this trail actually connects to a lot of other trails that will get you up to Big Springs area by Lava Hot Springs. But I just went on it on a whim and had nothing to expect, so here we go. The first section of it is really well maintained to some degree. There's quite a lot of stinging nettles. Watch out. But it's pretty shaded. You've got a nice river to the left. Or your right, depending on how you're coming on it. And I didn't see anyone on this trail, but it definitely gets some use in the weekends. Some better view of the rivers. And more of the stinging nettles, just watch out. And there's actually a lot of these thimbleberries, which are completely edible and related to a raspberry, but they just got a little bit more seeds in them and a little less sweet. But a lot of them have berries, which is awesome. And here's some, I think they're currants of some kind, but I looked in these water fishing holes and you could actually see a lot of small little fish fry. You can see them swimming around there kind of with this camera. I never saw any large fish, but if they're fry are there, that means they're in there somewhere. Somebody bring a fishing pole. And here's some more huge trees on this route. A lot of windfall damage or bark beetle kill. Here's a little bridge that was super wobbly. I definitely would not trust it with a motorcycle. And here we are. I just decided to go up a hill, and it's super bushwhacky, and we're going up to these peaks, which I didn't know were there until I looked at the map. They had no name or any trail to them, so I just went up. And I don't know if it was a mistake, but it was pure hell, and it was complete bushwhack most of the way up to these peaks. But I wanted to do them just to say I did, because I can't really see any record of them existing anywhere on the map. Definitely don't have a name. Here we are getting to the top. It's super hot right now. There it is in view of this unnamed peak. At this point I decided to name it Deer Peak because I saw a ton of deer on this little section, if the camera will focus. And of course it was a false summit. As you can see, it just kept going up and up and up and up with no end in sight, and it was very hot. The vultures were swarming me because I knew I was done for. And this bird, I think, was a bald eagle. Just look at it. A very tattered bald eagle. I mean, you can see the white tail and the white head right there. And it was just flying around with the red-tailed hawks and the turkey vultures. Pretty sure it's a bald eagle. What else would it be? And it's just super duper hot, covered in flies and sweat. Almost to the top of Deer Peak. There's Bonneville Peak, which I've done before. Watch that video. And apparently there's a road up here. I don't know really how you'd get to it, but I'm assuming from Big Springs area. So technically you could drive to this peak from another route, but I of course didn't do that. So people have obviously done this peak, it just doesn't exist on a map. Sorry. And that's a look into Inkom. Here's a better view of Bonneville Peak and then the Pebble ski area. And I decided to go to the second unnamed, unmarked peak, which I named Pain Peak because there's no shade, it's straight up and down. And the way getting back down to the Inman Trail was extremely painful, as you'll soon see. But okay views, I guess. A lot of dead grass, but you know, I don't know. And I doubt a lot of people have been to this peak because there's no road to it. You have to just hike on all the way, and the vultures are still circling me. And now I decided to take this ridge down to the trailhead, and it was even more bushwhack on the way up. And there's some parts I could barely even move through it all. It was so dense. And just super hot, muggy, flies everywhere. My shoes were just filled with seeds and spikes. Just a horrible experience. I would not recommend to anyone. But eventually it did clear out a little bit for a tad before I got bushwhack again. And eventually, after what seemed like eons, I finally made it to the trail again. Just absolutely covered in crap. Super tired. But at least I ended up really close to the trailhead, which was nice. See my feet. And here we are back at the trailhead. Still no one here. I mean, it's a weekday, but still, I don't think it gets a lot of use. There's just a look at my poor feet after all the seeds. So I rate these hikes using 3 criteria: solitude, scenery, and difficulty. Solitude is how many people are hiking out with you. Scenery are the good views, and difficulty is how hard the hike is. So this one was kind of hard. I'm gonna make these with the peak in mind. So solitude is obviously 9 because I don't think people are bushwhacking through pure bushwhack hell to get to it, so 9. But the actual Forest Service trail you get onto it could see some use, especially on the weekends from motorcyclists, I think. And then scenery is probably a 7. There is some good views of the little creek, and it is shaded, but nothing else besides that. And then most of the peaks were all dead and barren, and you just got to look into Inkom, so not amazing, so maybe a 7. And then difficulty, I put 8.5 for the peak. I'd say for the trail, depending on how far you go, it's probably only like a 5 or a 4. It's really flat. But if you went to the peaks like I did, definitely 8.5. They're not super duper peak, it's just, or steep, it's just the bushwhack is crazy, and there's not a lot of shade. So I'd give them 8.5. Not quite a 9, but still very heinous for the bushwhack. I would not recommend this route. I'd never do this, but if you are curious, you can look on all trails to see what I did, and it took me 7 miles in about 4 hours. So have a good one. Goodbye.